Greetings, fellow men of culture. As always, I am broadcasting live from the AAA gravestone at the peak of Thundercock Mountain. I've been distancing myself further and further away from the mainstream gaming space in the last few years. Like when I had to get a restraining order against my wife because she stuck a potato in my urethra while I was asleep. I can't deny that I feel a sense of schadenfreude when massive AAA games don't do very well, particularly the ones that the gaming press puts all of their weight behind to try and tell me that I'm a bad person because I'm not interested in a lesbian game. Apparently they aren't interested either. I'm not a bad person because I don't want your ideologically driven nonsense and something I want to enjoy. I'm a bad person because I sold my Dr. Ho's neck thing to an old lady and didn't tell her about the cum stains. Playing a big budget title is like finally deflowering the woman you've been courting for months. Everything's going well, you bring her to orgasm, then you find out she has black mold in the pit of her vagina. AAA games are nice and shiny on the outside, but rotten with black mold on the inside like a dirty, dirty vagina. As fun as it is to take a creamy dump on these games and the companies that make them, it's not all bad in the hobby right now. There are a handful of excellent titles available right now that remind me of what it used to feel like playing pretty much any game a few years ago. Titles that are fun and just have fun. Games that are made by people who know exactly what they're making and who their audience is. A reminder that some developers can put a piece of coal up their asses, squeeze really hard, and a diamond will pop out. There was a point in time where Capcom was desperate to appeal to Western audiences. Not the modern audience, they barely exist to begin with. I mean changing the focus of gameplay in their stuff to move away from what they usually make. Resident Evil lost its horror completely, becoming much closer to blockbuster Western action games like God of War. Dead Rising 4 was a huge disappointment to fans of not only zombie games, but those that love the series for years. So it's good for them that whoever's in charge over there isn't as stubborn as the CEOs and shareholders here in the West. Capcom very quickly moved back to the entire reason they've been around for so long to begin with. Resident Evil is right back to being the king of survival horror. Resident Evil 9 is the fastest selling game in the series so far, with 5 million copies sold in the first 5 days. The mix of survival horror and exciting combat sections seems to be made exactly for fans of the series, the people who will actually buy your game. The Grace sections are butt-puckeringly harrowing. Although she's in the FBI, she's an intelligence analyzer, so she only has basic firearms training and nearly zero field experience. Through a series of hilarious circumstances, Grace finds herself alone, witnessing psyche-shattering terrors that gave me the most shameful of boners. These sections make the player feel incredibly weak. Avoiding combat to save resources is important on higher difficulties. Every single zombie is a waste of ammunition, and there's a disgusting giant baby. Juxtaposed directly against Grace's sections are Leon's. Leon has decades of zombie slaying experience at this point. This whole thing is like a normal Tuesday for him. It takes Grace 6 or more headshots and an entire minute to kill. Leon can dispatch with a simple stagger, melee attack, and then a finisher with his axe. He carries around an entire arsenal in his ass and has the usual cheeky wisecracks. More of this, please. A smart, confident, and capable dude that players are excited to play as, instead of a flawless, ugly, obnoxious girl boss. Leon's design also exposes the blatant hypocrisy of gaming journalists. The game features an attractive woman, they go ballistic, calling it misogynistic, and all the men who want to play the game are creepy incels. These same people are endlessly thirst posting about how hot Leon Kennedy is, leaving snail trails all over their apartments. It's fine if the character appeals to women, I guess. I didn't recognize the phrase on prep. Turns out it means this Kotaku author is on preventative HIV medication for when he gets butt fucked by Leon. I thought my scripts were vulgar. Capcom knew exactly who they were making this game for. A great mix of visceral survival horror that made the series famous, mixed in with tense and exciting action sections for those that got into the series with Resident Evil 4 or the remakes. As a result, the game is a huge success and sets the series up for another hit with the next entry. Surprise, if you make games people want to buy, they'll buy it, instead of ignoring it and getting chastised by the gaming press for not liking it. FPS fans are getting some good stuff as well. I honestly believe people are sleeping on John Carpenter's Toxic Commando. Whenever I feature gameplay of this game in the background of my videos, I get quite a few comments asking me what game it is, so I'm here to spread the gospel like I spread my cheeks. It's a co-op zombie horde shooter that pays homage to 80s zombie and slasher flicks, with cheesy characters and dialogue, a story that exists only to give you a reason to be there, and a very inspired dark wave soundtrack composed by John Carpenter himself. The developer is Saber Interactive, the same guys that made Space Marine 2 and World War Z. Swarm Engine is in full effect here to render a stupid amount of enemies on screen at once. There are 4 classes to play, each with their own progression. The medic is a basic healer person who can drop a healing circle on the ground. The tank can drop a Titan-style bubble to shield allies and damage enemies within. The operator has a drone friend that provides air support. It can be modded to shoot incendiary rounds and revive down teammates. And lastly, the Strike, which is the dedicated DPS class. They get extra grenade slots and a huge hand-fire fireball blast to blow away huge groups of zombies. The levels have an open-ended structure so teams can decide which objectives to tackle first. There are supply depots that you'll desperately need because of the endless hordes of zombies, spare parts that can be spent unlocking power weapon crates or setting up traps like electrified floors and auto turrets. There's also a survival incentive mechanic with the sludge seeds. Each team member can hold one. You only have a limited number of revives depending on the difficulty before you're out of the match. Your team will be forced to go out of their way to retrieve you from a weird demon zombie egg, or you can spend your sludge seed to self-revive. However, for every sludge seed still in possession by your team at the end of the mission, everyone gets a beefy XP and currency boost. This incentivizes keeping your teammates alive, since everyone gets a nice extra boost if you look out for each other. Speaking of currency, this is one of the best aspects of the game. There is no premium currency or in-game shop. Every single weapon, mod, and skin is earned through collecting them in the levels, as mission clearing bonuses, or as an unlock for maxing out a weapon's level. Once you play through the tutorial, every weapon is available right away. Save for a few gadgets, you can experiment with the entire arsenal right in the lobby, which features a shooting range that somehow bigger budget shooters don't launch with. You can also individually change the skin and color of every weapon component. You're not forced to apply them to the entire weapon. How Call of Duty hasn't implemented this by now is beyond me. Toxic Commando fits nicely into the AA category of games that we don't see much these days. It's $40 USD and offers a discount on its special edition if you have either Space Marine 2 or World War Z in your library. There are 2 free content updates on the horizon and a ton of stuff to unlock and grind for if you really want to get into it. The last recent release to really tickle my pickle is a game that has no right to be as good as it is. Starship Troopers Ultimate Bug War is a boomer shooter made by Auroch Digital, same studio that made the excellent Space Marine bolt gun. The game presents a meta setup with the player being a potential mobile infantry soldier, being trained to deal with the bug threat by training through playing a video game. Casper Van Dien surprisingly returns to play the role of Jonathan Rico as he did in the 1997 film adaptation. It really was cool to see him in character again, not only in a new video game, but in the awesome 90s inspired FMV style cutscenes.
Are you thinking about starting on the road to citizenship? This game will test your mettle and make sure you have what it takes to really give those bugs hell.
The bugs are back.
These nail the satirical propaganda tones of the movie in a great way. Each level is an open-ended playground of boomer shooter goodness. You can complete any objective in any order, and you're given a score at the end of each mission depending on your performance. The arsenal makes destroying the bugs a creamy delight. You get the classic Merida, satisfying shotgun, sniper rifle, among a bunch of power weapons like a big heavy autocannon that shreds warrior bugs, a laser beam thing, and a handful of orbital ordnance like bombing runs, electric arc spires, and an AC-130 inspired door gunner. There's a handful of secrets scattered throughout the human levels that add modifiers to gameplay like the skulls in Halo games. The reason I specified human levels is because you can commit galactic treason by taking control of an assassin bug in a handful of bug levels. These levels don't have a variety of objectives like the human ones do. The only goal is to destroy and antagonize the human race by attacking their strongholds. The assassin bug can take on 3 forms, each one suited for different purposes. Base form is an agile ground unit with lots of attack power, great for destroying pretty much anything but heavier resistance. The flight form is good for escaping the battlefield when you're near death or for quickly traversing the area. It's also really satisfying to dive bomb clusters of human tents. The final form is a very slow moving tank that is perfect for melting thick doors or destroying the M7 Razorback mech enemies. Switching to this form also completely restores your health and armor, so it's on a cooldown to prevent spamming. The bug levels remind me of simpler games like Blast Corps for the N64 or the Rampage series, where the only goal is to run around and blow stuff up. I found myself thoroughly impressed with what Ultimate Bug War offers. The FMV cutscenes are filled with biting pro-war satire with all the campy line delivery.
Play Ultimate Bug War in real life. When you enlist for federal service, you also enlist for a passport to the rest of the galaxy.
The FPS aspects are rock solid, and the bug levels are dumb fun. The biggest drawback is probably overall content. I cleared all human missions in about 6 hours, and maybe another hour and a half for the bug levels. The game's MSRP is $25 USD. What value you get from that varies by person. For Starship Trooper and Boomer Shooter fans, it's a no-brainer. If you don't plan on replaying levels on higher difficulties and hunting for secrets, you may want to wait for a sale. I wanted to make this video because this recent string of great games is the most fun I've had with modern gaming in a long time. It's fun to write scripts and make videos taking a massive dump on the AAA industry, and I'm not going to stop doing that. But if you dig into Steam's library and check out the mountains of smaller budget titles and indie games, there's a ton out there to like right now if you're not interested in what Western studios are squirting out these days. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I would appreciate a like and subscribe. If you want to see how games journalists and developers blame gamers when their titles fail, check out the video on screen, and I hope to see you all in the next one.